All right, we're going to keep reminding you of this because you may have helped commit a terrible sin by voting for Proposition 47 last November, which
turns out was the most important ballot, a proposition that was there in November.
It turned a lot of prisoner felonies into misdemeanors, which means a lot of prisoners have been released. 2,700 of them are now free, and many of those guys are going back to stealing lots of stuff.
That's the story. And
I learned something that this Free the Prisoners crowd, they're not really worried about overcrowding so much as they're upset that there are prisoners. The overcrowding is a good excuse. You know, it's a good argument to hang their hat on. But really what it is they don't want guys to be incarcerated. It bothers them. Especially if they've only stolen stuff.
There's two types of people, basically, in this world on this issue. Those that believe, look, get them off the streets, lock them up. Pretty much us. And the other side says, well, no, depending on the crime, you should work with them, rehabilitate them, send them to drug treatment. There's many alternatives to just lock them up. They'll have prison sex and come out gay. Thanks, Ben Carson.
Yeah, right. You know what? Those people are foolish because they don't believe in evil. They don't believe in bad guys. They think we're all deep down good, and we're not. And I don't know where this comes from. Is it religious teaching? I mean, I don't understand if you have your eyes open.
Deep down good. Aren't you deep down good, Shannon?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think so. But a real true blue bad guy is not going to turn good. He doesn't have good feelings. People's brains are wired the way they're wired, and brains are really fragile, and a lot of them are damaged. They're just they're not useful. It's just bad, software up there. And so they can't be fixed. And, the real bad ones you ought to kill, the ones who commit murders, and then the ones who just create a lot of mayhem, you lock up. And this childish, silly, ancient notion of finding redemption and people are going to become good is just such idiocy. But I guess there's something wired in people's nature to believe that, even though there's very little evidence of it. The most you could say is as people get older, they calm down. They're not quite as violent because they just lack the energy.
I think people can become good, but for a period of time. I think that people can change, but it's a struggle to change. It's a struggle to hide that bad guy inside of you. You can try being rehabbed or whatever, but, it's a constant struggle. It's like an addict. An addict doesn't just wake up one day and go, you know what, I don't want that vodka anymore. Yeah. It's a constant struggle.
Because when you're an addict for booze or drugs, your brain is demanding the stuff. That's why some people call it a disease, because you can't control the brain's desire to be pleased. And it's probably similar to a person's desire to be aggressive, to be violent, to do bad things. You're not going to fix that. It tends to die down as you get older. Basically, loss of testosterone. And, all guys calm down because their testosterone drops.
So Prop 47 scrapped the felonies for stuff like possessing most illegal drugs, like methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin, as well as for property crimes in which the loss was $950 or less. The previous threshold was just $450. That includes forgery, check fraud, petty theft, shoplifting, receiving stolen property. So in this story, the San Francisco police chief said in a phone interview, the good news is, well, we got the jail overcrowding situation in control, but the bad news is we're grappling with a tremendous rise in property crime. In San Francisco, burglaries are up 20%, larceny theft up 40%, auto theft up more than 55% over a 4-year period.
And this police chief, Greg Suhr. All right, now you got auto theft up 55%. Yeah, S-U-H-R.
I guess it is. I just thought it was Sir.
Huh? I'm going with Suhr.
All right, go with Suhr.
Because his that's the way he thinks. Greg Suhr, when he addressed the overcrowding situation, he said, well, it wasn't acceptable to anybody. Oh, hold on a second. Who did your polling?
Yeah, we were fine with it.
What's wrong with jail overcrowding? There's a lot of people who didn't give a crap, who didn't know, didn't care. And, there were some silly judges who thought it was just a terrible thing. And, of course, you have the idiot prison activists and the prison lawyers, but, they've got money in the game. They're paid to care. But the idea that the whole state was in an uproar because the jails were overcrowded, the prisons overcrowded, no, that's nonsense. Nobody really cared. And then he says the thing we're grappling with is the tremendous rise in property crime. I don't think this is something we can't figure out, but there is a new normal for property theft we have to figure out. So that's what he's calling it, a new normal.
Oh, so we have to put up with this.
Exactly. When I saw that new normal phrase, what the hell are you talking about? The new normal is a 55% rise in auto theft in San Francisco? Are they that nuts? The average fool in San Francisco really feels better knowing that there's a 50% increased chance that his car gets stolen. But as long as the jails are less crowded, I'm happier. Who is that guy? Show me that guy. I don't believe he exists. If you did a poll and said, what do you think's the bigger problem? That your car is much more likely to get stolen, or that the thieves have no room in the jail? Really? He's going to worry more about the thieves in jail and not his car?
Well, at least we can shut up about the dopey prison overcrowding story, because now California is down to 112,500 inmates in its prison, which is 1,300 below the final cap we're required to meet by February of next year. So, and think about that again. 38 million or so people, there's 112,000 inmates. You really feel like that's a lot of prisoners? It's not.
So,
it's a trickle.
Who cares what the number is?
I know, but I want to take the number and show people that it's not that many people in prison. But they make the anti-prison people make such a big deal out of this over and over again. They hammer people with this.
Most people are ignorant, so nobody knows what the number should be. The number should match the number of criminals there are.
It is what it is, right?
I don't care if it's 500,000. I don't care if it's 2 million people in prison. If there's 2 million
My
people,
point is just build more prisons. It's not that we have too many prisoners.
Yeah, that's all. That's what you do. You build more prisons, and then if there's a big drop in crime, you close the prisons down and wait until the next wave.
I can't believe it was even an option. It's like, okay, the prisons are overcrowded. I know, let's just let them out. Like, why was that even on the table?
That was the first choice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, there was one choice on the menu.
Because John's right, that was the sentiment of a lot of the legislators in Sacramento. They're in a crowd that doesn't like prisons.
But why don't they like prisons? What is it about them? I know they don't like, but what is it? What do they think bad guys should be on the streets and stealing cars? Somebody should steal all their cars.
They believe magically all these people are going to end up in drug treatment and become great citizens again.
Do they?
They do.
They really do? Where is that
people for a perfect world.
But where's the evidence, though? Now we're talking about like a bizarre religious belief again. There's no evidence. No. It's a wish. It's a fantasy. But in the real world, it doesn't exist because there's lots of bad people who can't be fixed. And I don't care if they get fixed or not. I'm happy just to have them in prison.
Toll-free number, 1-800-520-1534.
John and Ken Show. Shannon has news.